What would you say from your side? What were the top sort of 2 or 3 things that you found most helpful or useful for you guys?
I think the initial strategy session, I think, was probably the best that we have done, and then I think the monthly checks-ins to get us on the path, and as well as how you structured our finances. I think those 3 things really helped us get there, and then over the long term, I think we can work through what helps. It's like a steer correction here and there, but it's broadly there. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and I think it's like you got to have, I know for you guys, and especially if you're going from a situation where you maybe haven't prioritized, saving or investing at the rate that you want to be prioritizing saving or investing going forward, that I think for you guys, it's probably fair to say that having the accountability to know that you've got someone that's checking in, that even if you didn't, and I know that there were I can remember some conversations that we had about different things that meant that we didn't quite hit the targets that we'd initially set, but also that the conversation is coming, so you don't get too far off track, and then sort of get back in once give you the motivation, I suppose, to push things forward.
Yeah, exactly.
So just on the strategy piece, because I know that for you guys, like you said, that you'd been doing a lot of traveling. I know that you did and still do have a lot of lifestyle goals. We've talked about a bunch of things. I think I know that over the years, some of the different things that we've the different strategies that we've explored with you are like things like taking extended periods of time out of the workforce, which has happened probably not quite to the length that we would choose if we could wave a magic wand. But some of those, working part-time for a period of time, you've got 2 young kids, making sure that you're present and around for them, but doing it in a way that's not, sort of sabotaging your financial future or their financial security in the future as well as some really good holidays along the way. How did you find, what was your, I suppose, what was the shift that happened, or how would you explain how that process had helped you to make those decisions?
I think it's when I look back, it's a visibility on, I think we've always had a good sense on the budget. Also, when we set up the strategy, we could kind of quickly say where the outflows are. But I think the key was the transparency that you provided on putting it in, for example, in a modeling tool, and see how that goes over the year or over several years, and where we should cut back or have a bit more flex. I think that the transparency really helped. So we can now more aware on where the money flows, even though it kind of knew it, but didn't really see it happening. So on paper and on transparency, I think this was really helpful. And that helped shift maybe some of the priorities around as well.
Yes, priorities is a good word to use, because making the very best financial decisions for you and for your family and for anyone that's sort of listening along is that it depends on you. It depends on what's important to you now. It depends on how you want your situation to change over time and what those priorities are, and they sometimes shift around as well. But I think one of the things that I found and I have the benefit of having seen it come together for people a whole bunch of times, is being able to say, well, if I work, what is the impact if I work an 8-day fortnight versus a 9-day fortnight versus a 10-day fortnight, all right next to each other, and then what is the difference now, and what does that mean for our savings over the time that we've got, childcare costs and schooling costs, and what does that mean for our bottom line balance sheet in 20 years from now, and being able to do that quickly. Because I know, for you guys, that you'd actually, I think I'm recalling it right, that when we started working together, that you had one of those apps that tracked all of your expenses, and you sort of knew where the money was going. But it wasn't translating into actually hitting any numbers or doing that. what would you say? What would you say is the difference? Like, what was the difference between having a really close handle on the day to day, but then translating it to moving forward? What would you say that gap actually is?
I think, yeah, just looking back, I still kind of like looking at where the money's going. So I still do that, but I'm not eyeing it that specifically anymore, because now I feel like the macro vision that we set up and the macro buckets that we created work better, because I know the money is, for example, going, paying off the bills, and then there's a bit of money for what we're going to spend, and some of the savings. So I think it's these really helps plan that strategy, what you need to do during the year better than day to day. So I think the gap was, I always saw the money going out, but I never really saw the other kind of areas growing. Even though I was like saved some, but then we took it out again. So I think now we set it up so we don't really touch it, or we kind of really know what's going on. And if we need to adjust, then we adjust it once in 6 months or a year, and then it works out for the rest. So it does the job really well. I think, yeah, I'm not sure what's the main difference, but I think the main difference, just from feeling it, I think it's like, yeah, it's more worry less, like how we structured it now.
Yes, I think the automation is really helpful. That out of sight, out of mind, and using small barriers to to between you and your money ultimately has a pretty powerful impact. But I think if I can recall back to that that strategy meeting way back when, it's the ability we can sort of tweak the we use a savings plan, a budget, which you can sort of tweak live. You see what the difference is between, spending $400 a week and spending $800 a week. But then not only that, what that does for your savings today, but how that actually feeds into, your goals for the next sort of 5, 10, 20 years. And the bottom line impact is something that's generally fairly powerful. And I know that, that was one of the ways that we were able to make sure that your financial success was prioritized at the right level, relative to, I suppose the lifestyle or other goals that you wanted to do.